Hey y'all, it's Shannon. So I'm coming at you with something that's a little different in terms of videos, and that is a recipe. So kind of let me know what you think. I know the recording is not going to be great on this, but that's just kind of what I have to deal with. So the first thing is you need some unbleached all-purpose flour, some cheese, any sort of cheese you want, as well as some baking powder. And then pumpkin, because these are garlic pumpkin cheddar biscuits, which is fabulous. And if you need to sneak vegetables into your children or your grown people, if you're me, cheddar cheese powder and garlic salt's right there. But if you need to sneak vegetables into people's lives, just tell them they're cheesy biscuits with lots of cheese. And honestly, no one really will notice the difference unless they're ultra sensitive to the flavor of pumpkin or squash or something like that. And then some cold butter, cold, partially frozen is always best. And then you may need a little milk. It's going to depend on how wet your pumpkin is. I have done it before where I've had fresh pumpkin and it was really wet, so I did not need the milk, but in this case, I will actually need the milk a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is, and I'm cheating, I'm totally using the food processor because I feel like I don't overmix the dough as much if I use the food processor and use the pulse option. So I'm adding all of my dry ingredients, my salt, baking powder, cheese, and then the cold butter. Well, I don't know if everyone knows, but a really great key to Wondrous Biscuits is cold cubed butter. Tiny cubes are good things. It just is easier to break up in the food processor, or if you end up doing it by hand, it just makes your life simpler. And you kind of want to pulse this until it's like not fine grains of sand, but basically like grainy, if that makes any sense. Like grains of sand, like chunky grains of sand, if that makes any sense. So I'm at the correct consistency, at least that I'm looking for. And now I'm going to add in the first of the wet ingredients, which is the pumpkin. And I will add that in and continue to pulse. And then I'm going to check it once I pulse it a couple of times to see if I need to add milk. Because sometimes, like I said, you don't need to. It just depends. Because the worst thing you can do with biscuit dough is overwork it. So it does need just a smidge of milk. So I'm adding it. And I'm going to pulse. Kind of test it out, see if I need to add a little more. Alright, so I added some more milk, because this one was quite dry if I recall. So now that that's done, that's kind of what my biscuit dough looks like. It's very orange, very yellow. If you really wanted to jazz it up, you could add pumpkin spice, which this original recipe has, but I did not want that in my biscuits. Personally, I don't, nope. I want a savory biscuit. I'm not into the sweet scone type of thing. Nope, pass. So I added a lot of flour to my work surface, and basically because I don't want it to stick, and I'm a patter, if you can't tell. A pat. So I try and get a nice little round, make it somewhere between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch thick. Probably, I want to say, 1.5 centimeters-ish. So I think that's correct, centimeters. So I quite love this biscuit dough. So I'm patting it out till it's a nice little round circle. And I don't know how many of you all know this, but your first cutting of the biscuits is going to be the best, because like I said, with biscuit dough, the more you rework it, the tougher it gets. Now, you know, it's still going to taste great, but it's just going to maybe be slightly tougher. And I'm using these to make biscuits and gravy, so it's going to be covered in gravy. Either way, I'm not super concerned, so I will rework this dough a few times. Some people don't. I would do rework it. You know, I do think it's fine. I'm on my last biscuit now, flouring it, which makes it easier to cut. And then I'm just going to get my last biscuit, and that's that. So it's pretty easy to do. And oh, my biscuits are about 2.25 inch. They're not very big biscuits. I actually use smaller ones now. So I find a secret key to getting Wondrous Biscuits is to pop them in the freezer while your oven preheats to 425F, because it gets the butter extra cold so that it puffs really good. Then you're going to top your biscuits with some melted butter, pop them in the oven, and here you get to see what I think of as beautiful, beautiful food porn. Enjoy. And then I top it with a little more melted butter. I love melted butter very clearly. I use it a lot on the biscuits. This is not necessarily the lightest biscuit food-wise, calorie-wise, but it's not bad, and I make small ones. So as you can see, I pulled an ugly one basically to snack on, but it is really good with the gravy, like I said. So the beautiful thing about these is that they're covered in gravy. It's not really a big deal, and I love this recipe. Now I will say this recipe is based off of one that I got off of King Arthur flour. I did, however, change the ingredients slightly, so feel free to play with it however you want. Enjoy yourself, and I hope you like this. So do me a huge favor, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!